expectation of newer people, newer generations is a little different.
I
Sir
agree,
Sabna.
Akshay. Maybe when we started,
Yes,
learning opportunities were limited. Internet was not that prominent, and we
yes,
have to be highly reliant on our mentors. But now, with the boom of technology, everything is readily
exactly.
available. So let's take an example. Love and you have created this wonderful group, and there's a lot of learning happening. So as a fresher, they're learning a lot from this. So way back 7 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, learning opportunities were very limited.
Very limited,
So
true.
I agree that the scenario might have changed because of the change in the market dynamics and the learning opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple A,
I just
you,
want to
yes,
add on. Uh,
please.
yeah, Satendra said exactly the correct thing that now the technology is like getting expanded. So take an example of your group only. There are lots of multiple groups in the market where people can join, but why people are stuck in your group and why people are excited to join the call? Because they are learning something. They are you are providing them content. Each and everyone is supporting each and everyone. So that is the exact point in an organization also. When a fresher is joining the organization, he needs the support from his manager as well as manager needs the support from him. It's a give and take all.
Deepak, I would like to add one very important point here, which you rightly said. I think one thing would be a very prominent and important factor would be the work environment. If the work
Correct, correct.
environment, if the team, if the support, if the because let's be honest, everybody being a fresher or a senior, sometimes all of us get stuck, right, in something or the other. If we get the help, on a proactive basis, if somebody is there that whenever we shout, that person comes on, or two people or three people, they support us. The kind of support system is very strong. I don't think anybody will leave that organization, trust me.
Correct, correct, correct. Totally
Okay,
agree
so
with you.
that brings me to the next part of my question is what is it that usually a person expects from a workplace environment? The minimum expectation that a person has, or on a similar topic, I'm just picking on where we left this conversation. What should a candidate expect, or how is it that you guys feel a company environment can benefit, or what are the factors that are lucrative for a person trying to join a company?
Akshay, I'll take this opportunity to answer.
Please, please.
Apart from monetary and technical, one thing is very important from a leadership perspective is the appreciation and acknowledgement and recognition. So once even a iota of achievement done by a fresher, a project manager or the leadership has to recognize it within the group, maybe sending a email or giving a pat on the back. So why it is becoming monotonous, because or why people leave is because of the leadership or maybe because of the lack of appreciation. The moment he does something great, give him a token of appreciation so that he can go and showcase it to the entire world that I got hired and my manager has appreciated me. Maybe some certificate he can put it on LinkedIn or Facebook, so that will boost the morale. So I think this is the elementary point wherein we can retain a good talent. So for me, this would be a primary step, and
Okay.
meeting the expectation of a fresher.
And what do you think a fresher or any person, for that matter, joining a company looks for in the company other than, see, because if I'm sitting here and I'm trying to apply to XYZ company, I wouldn't know whether how accommodative they are and of appreciating my efforts or something. That is something I would get to know when I join the company. So for me, if you have an advice for me, what should I look for in a company when I'm trying to join them? Other than the monetary, like you said, other than the monetary and the role-based benefits that there's a particular skill set I have, there's a particular job description that I'm looking at, and there's a particular financial compensation that I'm looking for. Provided all these three things, keeping them aside or they're taken care of, what else should I look for in the company that I'm trying to join?
So
Uh,
I just want to add on this. Uh, Satinder, if you want, I can.
You can start, man. Satvinder will follow you.
Okay. So my point is that you need to focus on your current employees. Like you have to make them comfortable in their work, day-to-day work. Once they are comfortable, if someone is hiring from outside, he will what we are doing right now.
So
We are reaching out to a person.
testimonial is the thing I will be looking for. I'll be looking for how
Correct.
the current
Who
employees
will
are talking about the company.
Yes,
I
yes, and
I
how
add
they are satisfied with their work and everything, environment, everything. So if
yes.
your current employees are happy, they will also showcase that yeah, this is a good company and this is the best company to join, because right now this is what how things are working. If a
Right.
I'll
person is joining a XYZ company, he will review, he will go and search on Google, he will talk with some employees who are working in that organization, then he collects some feedbacks from them, then he take the decisions. This is what's going on right now.
yes. So Deepak,
That's my point of view.
yeah, this is absolutely right. I'll add to this. Let's say I remember those days where I was in 11th and I was lacking in maths, right? So I went for a lot of coaching centers. Okay. I was not sure which one to go for because for me, all of them were same, right? All of them are, they are training centers, they are, similar. What did I do? I simply went on, asking a few people, how is the trainer here? How are things? Are you happy? Is the trainer really, is the teacher actually teaching you maths or just, joking in the class? So you're absolutely right there. The people, will get to know things despite of, anything. So if your employees currently are happy, they will attract happy talent. I'm
So
sure about it.
is there any good portal or are there places where we can try to get reviews about the companies that we are going to join?
Glassdoor, no?
Yes. So Glassdoor being one of them. Is there anything any person has known? Uh,
LinkedIn, LinkedIn,
LinkedIn is a good place
Glassdoor,
to go.
and
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe through Facebook pages, the social media pages, other
Facebook. These
Twitter
days,
accounts, and all. Also, we
social
can
media
see how
also.
employees. Yeah. Okay. Great. So I think social media can be a good platform. LinkedIn is a
Yes.
good platform. Glassdoor is a very authentic source. I mean, it's been there for a while, and people post their reviews. Obviously, I've got mixed responses about a lot of things there, but then yeah, that's always there. I mean, you can always look at things and make a rational decision about it. Satwinder, you had something to say.
If you're getting
Sir, please, Deepak, come on.
Sure. Thanks. Like if the company is getting a negative response in this social platform also, they need to work on that and they need to reply
Yes.
that we have done to
Yes.
rectify these. If the companies are just there to collect the post, then it will not work out.
Yes.
Like we as a person, if I am going for a company, I will review whole comments, like negative one also, positive ones also. Once if there is no response from that negative or even for a positive comments, then I think I would say that companies are they have created this platform just to collect the reviews and just to for the public one. They are
Right.
not
Yes.
working on that.
So
We need to proactively work
it's
on.
both ways. The company should also focus on maintaining their reputation, improving their mistakes. Gone is the time when giants were sitting in their seats, and it was like, this is my offer, this is my company, take it or leave it. Now we are living in a time where
Correct.
there are these portals where people are exchanging information. They are not fearful of talking about things, negative or positive, that are going on in the company, whether during their employ or after they leave the company. So it's like there's a world where I have to make sure I'm doing a good job as an employer, so that quality employees or the people join me.
I
Yes.
have
Absolutely.
Shabinav.
Yeah.
I want to add here. So
Yeah.
I think the reason that freshers are living in a 1 year. So what we have experienced in last in our experience, like see they are looking for they looks always the flexible environment actually. What kind of environment you are giving, like work from home, then
Yes.
flexible timings. Whenever
Yes.
they want, they can come to the office. They can
Right.
stay late night. They can come late in the office. They don't need to punch the attendance. So
Right.
I mean, so from wherever they want, they can go for a one month leave. And whenever they get the variable, they should have the they will uh, whatever leaves they are pending, they want to avail everything. So if anyone tells that okay, you cannot do this, so I mean, if they are saying that in other companies their friends are getting that flexibility, obviously they switch. I mean the same kind of work they are doing here, if they get the flexibility in other companies, they know that they will get, because if the job market is on boom, whatever they are doing, obviously they will get the job anywhere. So
So
this is the one.
how
Yeah.
does this change with experienced professionals? How does this change from a fresher? So this is a valid point that they are looking for flexibility. They are looking for, I don't have to come at 9 a.m., 8 a.m. I can come at 11 a.m. I can work from home. How does that change as the experience grows? Is it the same with experienced professionals as well, according to your opinion?
No, no, flexible. I mean, experienced guy, because we started from that particular time when it was not there actually. We were more focused on our job. I mean, see, there are three generation actually. So I have saw one interview. I mean, they have three generation. One where our parents had worked, their government jobs were there. I mean, they don't need to worry. They go to the office 9 a.m. They come in the 5 p.m. in the evening, and they have family time and everything. They
Yes.
don't need to worry about these things. About internet was not there,
Right.
mobile phones were not there, so they were
Right.
more focused on the job and family. They were one
Right.
particular second generation from where we are coming actually. I'm not saying that we are too old, but yeah, but second generation from where coming, that we are more focused on our family also, and then job also, and then job security also, everything. These days, the freshers are coming, the guys are coming from engineering college, and they don't worry about these things. They just want to live the life. I mean, right now there is no, I mean,
So
their mind is,
the
yeah,
expectations from personal and professional front differs, and in that way, what you're expecting from a company kind of also differs, is what you're saying. So an
right, right.
experienced person would more look into the kind of role he has, the kind of time he's spending should be a quality time, and rest he can focus on his personal life. From a much younger generation, it's more about the thrill, the kind of knowledge they can gain, the kind of environment they have, because they're new,
See,
then join new
we
to an
see that
industry.
discipline actually. We more focus on the discipline in the work actually. So if any fresher is coming, and obviously they are coming, if they are coming late, they are going late, and they are not focusing on the career. So obviously discipline is very important in the work environment. This is one. If you're not disciplined, obviously I will not give the more work to you. But if this is not that all freshers leave in a 1 year or 2 year. If four fresher has joined, if I see that one or two are very disciplined and they are more focused on their career, they are giving all input, they are giving, I mean, they are doing everything whatever you are asking, and they are focused. So obviously we will retain those two, not the other two. So obviously those two will feel that okay, we don't have any work here. I mean, appreciation is not there. Obviously they will leave. But yeah, gradually when they get the experience, obviously they will understand what was happened actually, and what they have done, why it was happened with them, why it was not happened with the other two guys, why they are still doing their job in that particular organization, why we are every year we are switching.
Okay,
So
good, great
discipline is
points.
very important.
Right. I think Savvy had something to add.
Go for it, Satvinder.
Yeah, sorry, system got frozen. So another point I wanted to add here is that everyone is rightly said that because of the social media, the expectation has also gone up. Second one, a fresher is looking for a job. Important thing is that he has to check that is he comfortable in working in shift, because most of our customers in information security or IT is European and US. So when fresher joins, they are not open to do shift as well. So this is also a key important factor when they check for a job.
Right, right. Yes, that's true. A lot of companies now work in shifts, and but what I've observed, Satinder, is that with the coming culture, I mean, a lot of people, freshers, are okay with shifts now. I don't see them resisting a lot on shifts because they understand in a lot of job roles the shift and the rotation works. It's just that a lot of times I've observed is that they ask their rotation shifts to change. They say that, if I'm doing night time for a month, then please shift me to the day for the next month, then maybe evening time for the next month. Kind of keeps rotating just to, keep things interesting maybe for them, or allow them to cater to the role that you want and also get separate timings. But I haven't observed a lot of resistance to shift timings. Have you, as anybody, observed something like this?
Hi Akshay and hi Love.
Um,
Ankush here. So I would like to share few things, exactly 1 year before how I started, and I'll come to that point regarding the shift timing as well. So,
Please.
initially the most important thing, as a fresher, a lot of people told me, okay, information security is this, so do this, this is a lot of confusion came up, so I was just trying to find out who can guide me, some sort of thing. So then, Love's group and all came. So, I asked a couple of questions, I know this. So I generally started from, free available material. So that's the thing we
I think I lost him.
do
Yeah.
certification. So we should the fundamentally is the same. Basic fundamentally same, like all it revolves on CIA. So once you learn the basic
Ankush, you are breaking in between. We can hear parts of what you're saying. Can you try to
so
get to an area
intermediate
of
when you feel okay.
Ankush? Can you try to get to an area of better network? We aren't able to hear you. You're cutting in the middle.
Okay, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, much better.
Okay, so I think should I start from first or shall I continue?
Please do. Let's start from the start.
Okay, fine. So yeah, as I said, initially when I also had a lot of confusion in the same situation. So
Right.
I tried to get expand my network, information security professionals, they told do this. So first I understood what are the different areas of domains and try to understand their job role, what exactly we do day-to-day operations and in the long term as well. So then, as a fresher, people told me do SOC. I did that SOC training. I did enjoy initially, so I got all the basics of it. But then, there was something called a shift, so which I really did not enjoy about it. So I thought of switching to ISO and PCI. As I already got into basic, then I started with Love's ISO training videos. So I just used to listen it like podcast kind of thing. Instead of listening to music, I just used to listen this. So yeah, so that's what so in SOC L1 monitoring, so it was like not really interesting or exciting kind of work, just monitoring. So I wanted to expand more thing where I get chance to talk with customers, clients, and also different things like more exciting. Like as we know in ISO, we face different challenges as well, and PCI certain things. And I never really fallen for certifications. Once you're a freshers, you try to get into your company, and then your company will help you to do certifications and all. Yeah.
So
So if you
Ankush,
have
in
any
your experience,
questions,
you found ISO and ISMS more challenging and interesting than a SOC role.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll address this. So this is one of, I'm not right now, but I will do this at some point. What I've been observing is that a lot of people, and it's not entirely to their end, it's more from how the industry has kind of established these roles, that the SOC role, the starting SOC role, the L1 SOC role is kind of always thought to be that role which is very mundane, which is very basic, which is boring. This is what people come to, and exactly right, Ankush. You mentioned something in the same fashion. And it was
Yes.
okay. It was good to start learning, but once I sat there for a couple of months, when I understood how an SIM works, when I understood how things happen, then it started to get boring because there was nothing new happening. What I'm doing
Yeah.
there is I'm just sitting there raising tickets. I will address this. Let's have other questions come in, but Love, do remind me to touch base on this SOC point, because I want to clear a couple of myths. And on behalf of organizations, me being an employer, I would like to state a certain point, and I would like to give some tips to people who are aspiring to become good SOC professionals. Right?
Okay. I think let's open the forum now to all the other people who have joined. Any questions that you have specific for job interviews, you can shoot now.
Yeah, I mean, you could ask about anything: a resume, job application, expectation.
Any issues that you're facing in getting calls, anything, go for it.
Sir, what are the top questions asked in ISO information security officer or manager's interview?
What are the top questions asked for from an info? What is the job role? Uh, what is the experience? If you tell, if you can be specific about that, maybe we can try
So,
to.
so the job experience would be,
Are you talking about CISO? Are you, or are you talking about information security officer?
information security officer.
Okay. Information. So now this role in itself, information security officer, is a gray area. So I'll tell you, if you know by yourself, if you can expand the profile, I'll be able to tell you. Otherwise, I can elaborate a little bit on information security officer profile. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. So the job requires like 8 to 10 years of experience as an infosec manager, and the part is handling the information or ISMS division of a company.
Okay. So that is information security manager. That's not an information security officer. An information security officer is typically 3 to 4 years of experience guy who has experience in audit,
Yes.
who has experience in compliance. And information security officer is kind of meant to enforce and maintain policies, procedures, and guidelines, and contribute to updating or keeping the policies, procedures, guidelines, controls up to date with the coming threats and attacks. He is also expected to help in the management of the ISMS or the security risk management. He is an integral part of the risk management team. He is supposed to help in the creation of the dashboards and the KPIs required for the senior management. So he's kind of a person who interacts with the people on the ground. Who is the person who gets the job done. He is the link between the management, this management, information security management, and the people on ground who are getting the job done. That is kind of a profile of an information security officer. It starts somewhere about 2 years, 3 years. It depends from organization to organization. It goes up to 5 years. Once you are above the 5 years, 8 years of experience, then you become an information security manager. Those expectations are completely different. So is am I understanding this information security officer profile correct, or are you talking about the manager profile?
No. I'm talking about the manager, but you explained it very well. That for other participants' benefit, what is the difference? And just one more question I want to ask here on information security manager: has to be highly technical in terms of understanding how technology works, how network works, or the knowledge of the ISO will work?
In fact, understanding of ISMS for an information security manager should be a prerequisite. An information security manager should understand what an ISMS is. Operational knowledge of technology is required, I would say. Because ultimately, if you don't have operational knowledge, it kind of hinders your functioning. So you don't need to have, it's not required that you have done each and everything that is being on, or you have implemented each and every technology, or you have hands-on each and every technology. But it helps to have an operational knowledge of it. You should know what are the steps that are being that would be done typically. You should know what it's, if you're talking about encryption, you should understand the concept of keys. You should understand the concept of key exchange. You should understand what are the risks involved when implementing an encryption, and what are the considerations that should be made. And that can only happen if you have an operational technical knowledge. It also depends, Satminder and other people addressing here, on the kind of role you have, because there is a technical lead manager and then there is a process manager as well. So if you are talking about ISMS specifically, I would say just an operational knowledge is good enough. Same goes for a technical manager. If a person is handling technical cyber security projects or any technical project in general, understanding of policy, procedure, and how risk management works helps you.
Well said. I am agree with Akshay. 100% agree.
Right. So that was
Thank
there.
you,
I
Akshay.
think, yes. And I think so. We are back to your question. Original question is that from an information security manager, what kind of questions do they expect from in a job interview? See, at a position like that, when you're talking about 8 to 10 years of experience, expecting expecting that they will ask you to name each and every control or each and every clause of ISO 27001 is probably not. It will more be like you have to justify your experience so far as in the information security domain, and you have to justify what you have already done that will help you do the current role or the upcoming role in a good way, and how you can contribute more to the current existing. You have to first of all, see, the very first thing is that you have to justify the role that you are going to get to. How you can do that is, first you can say that I have the required skill set, I have the required knowledge, there are certifications at a manager level, I have some certifications. This is, you could showcase that I'm industry specific. So the kind of questions that will be asked to you is more of scenario based. They will be more from how did you tackle such a thing, how, what is, you would be asked to explain a certain project. If you're applying for an information security manager, they would ask you, how did you manage an internal audit, how did you manage an ISO certification that happened in your previous company. Scenarios will be given that if such a thing happens, if a threat happens, if an incident happens, how is it that you're going to tackle, who are you going to talk to. Obviously it depends on the kind of job role, from a management perspective you're applying to. If it's a generic one, you may be given generic or all types of scenarios. If in my experience, it's more from talking about what you've already done, the kind of actual, because they're interested to know what experience you bring. Have you handled big projects, have you handled big implementations, have you handled teams, have you been able to solve problems, are you an independent manager, will you be a person who will be coming back to the management for small things, or will you be able to tackle things on your own, are you going to reduce costs, are you going to increase productivity. So these are the things they're looking for. It's not more from whether you can recite the clauses to them or not. Obviously you need to know it, and at some point you will be tested for it as well. And if they don't ask it, I would suggest that go ahead and showcase your knowledge of your domain, your expertise over the domain in some way or the other. But it's more from us, experience is what they are looking for. So if they will ask you on your experience, whatever you write in your resume is key here, because as a manager you have a lot to write about and you have to fit everything in 2 pages. So the key points of what key roles that you've done, and what is it, how is that very specifically beneficial for the role and the company that you're applying to. I think that is what helps.
And questions from this, Abhinav, and whatever question comes from the HR or any technical department, it comes from your resume also. Whatever you are writing in the resume, question comes in from that only. So sometimes people write many things that, okay, let's give a chance. But whatever you are writing, questions comes from that only. So make sure that whatever you are writing in the resume, you are skilled. I mean, that skill you have.
I agree. I mean, if we don't thoroughly prepare on our own CV, that will lead to opening the can of worms.
Yeah, so does that help you, Love, would you like to add something here?
No, you clearly answered it. Satinder, any more doubts on that question?
No, sir. Good to go.
Okay. Next question. Any question regarding resume, not getting calls? Go for it.
Hello.
Hello? Is somebody trying to speak? Okay. Nobody has any questions?
Any questions in terms of, jobs, not able to clear interview? Go for it.
I have a question. It was regarding risk and compliance roles, and it was asked
There's
regarding.
there's a disturbance from somebody's background. Yeah, please carry on.
Go for it.
Yeah. So it was the role of a manager risk and compliance, and the question was asked for like how do you manage enterprise risk and BCP.
Can you be a little louder, please? I'm not able to hear. I'm really sorry.
Okay, I repeat it again. It was a role for a manager risk and compliance, and it was a question was regarding how do you manage enterprise risk and BCP.
Okay. And what is your query?
Like my query is like for BCP as it has already been discussed. So I've shared from the references which were taken from the our last Q&A session which happened. So in the enterprise risk, I just want to know how to better formulate the answer because I've mentioned everything regarding risk treatment, risk assessment, risk management, gap assessment, and everything. So though I've cleared the round, but I just want to know could there be any better answer as well?
So Lalit, I think I'll take this one if you
Sure,
don't mind.
sure, sure.
So it's a very valid question is although not very specific to job here, more towards the risk management side, but I'll still address this, and maybe we can take this up as a topic of discussion in the group itself. You're talking about enterprise risk management and what is it, and you were asked about enterprise risk management, and although you were able to make them understand, but you felt that what else could be added in this. So the difference between it, yeah, am I right in this?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So the difference here between a typical risk management or a governance risk compliance and an enterprise risk management is when we talk about enterprise risk management, it's a level above. It's from an enterprise level. So what in enterprise risk management is not just talking about cybersecurity risk, it also talks about financial risks, it talks about strategic risks, and it also talks about operational risks. So the way to approach is the same, the way to identify risk is the same. How would you do in any typical risk management? You would define the scope, what are the processes coming into this. So earlier what used to happen was risk management was more from a vulnerability based risk management. Now we are already moving towards a process based risk management. Even ISO has accommodated a process based risk management and assessment framework. So what happens in enterprise in doing GRC or governance, risk and compliance from a cyber security perspective, what we do is a very small part of a BIA, business impact analysis. And again, before people start hitting me and saying that no complete BIA, let me just explain what I'm trying to say. BIA as an activity, holistic BIA as an activity contributes the most to enterprise risk management. This is a statement. It obviously helps in governance, risk and compliance also. But in order for you to establish an ISMS, an exhaustive BIA is not mandatory. It's more, it is, if I know what are the business processes specific to establishing an ISMS and I have done an impact analysis of that, it's good enough. But from an enterprise level, you need to look at each and every process. You need to look at all the business processes in scope, and that is how you define. So sorry, I digressed. Again, you have to define scope. What are the business processes? Again, you have to define what are the risks associated with these business processes. Then you go ahead and you devise a plan like you do. Then you implement the plan. Then you check like PDCA. So the whole thing works. Again, just quickly wrapping this up is that it's not just the cybersecurity risk, it's also the financial, strategic and operational risks that come into picture through all business processes, not just relevant to the ISMS. I think that's the only difference here. And a lot more teams come into picture because the scale is bigger, so
Basically,
on and
yeah.
so forth.
just to add one line to completely sum it up, Akshay very well said that it's a holistic approach, I would say, right? It would have very all the tangents in it, at the same point. Okay,
Right.
Lalit, hope you get that. Okay.
Yes, I got that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi,
Go for it.
hi Akshay. Hi, Love.
Hello.
Mohammed here.
Hi,
Yeah.
Mohammed.
So I have two questions. So one is, I'll give you my background. So I am a information security consultant working on ISMS and as well as BCMS projects. I have handled many projects and many audits.
Okay.
So to progress my career, what I'm doing right now is I'm studying CISSP. Okay.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to know. I know CISSP is more on the technical side and it has more knowledge, and CISA is more on the auditing side, information
Right.
security auditing side. And I see my future not only in auditing and consulting, also in the technical aspects, also like a manager. So, is it good? My decision is good that I am doing CISSP, or should I do CISA first and then CISSP?
What is the immediate role in the terms of designation job or in the terms of the kind of projects you want? What is the immediate goal?
So it's more on CISSP because
No, let's not talk on certification terms.
okay, okay,
Forget about it. I
okay,
am talking what is it that you want to do immediately after this in the coming 2 years from now. So let's say you said that I have done ISO, I have done a lot of ISMS, and I have done a lot of BCMS. Agreed. Now, having established that you have a decent experience in ISMS and BCMS, in the next 2 years or in the next 3 years, what is the kind of role? Are you going to enhance your experience in ISMS and BCMS, or are you saying that now you want to switch to something? What is it that you're hoping for?
yeah, I'm hoping to switch on more on technical side, more on strategizing and that part where the manager take management role responsibilities, that not on the higher side, but basically I should be able to give solutions to common problems like network problems or any encryption problems, as such, not stick to just process based more. I mean, I'm hoping to get technical knowledge as
Okay. I think what your requirement is that since you want to move to a technical role, you feel that CISSP you will be able to say that I am a good fit. Please take me in this role, or I want to get into this role because I have CISSP. You're using the certification as a means to get into the switch this subdomain within cybersecurity. Am I finding this right?
correct.
Yeah, I think, but it depends. Do you have, do you qualify the criteria for CISSP? You have minimum 5 years of experience.
Yeah, I don't rightly qualify into it, but there is an associate program which after cracking the CISSP exam, you get an associate title with CISSP, and then you have 5 years to complete 5 year of information security background. So
Yes.
already I have 2 year, and then for Bachelor of Engineering, I have 1 year concession, 1 year experience waiver. So
I,
I just
I
need
got I got your point. Can I ask you a question? How much experience in total do you have in information security?
I have 2 years experience only, but during this 2 year course of 2 years, I have worked on multiple projects simultaneously. So the work was very much.
I
So
understand. So
yeah,
a lot of experience you have gained through doing a lot of projects, packed projects within these 2 years.
yeah,
I understand and I appreciate it. But see, there is one thing that I would recommend Mohammed here.
okay,
Don't go for the certification immediately if you
Yes.
can
okay,
help it.
Yes.
If you can help it, don't go for the certification immediately unless you know for a fact that taking this certification right now is a requirement for a job role that you're seeking for. If
Yes.
your manager or your employer or your future employer is telling you that okay, take this exam, a lot of people come to see. I have been noticing this trend is that people come and say that I will go ahead and take this certification, and once I've done the number of years, I will automatically get the title. So provisional I will have that I cleared the exam, but I still need to do like 1 year, 1 more year, 2 more year, 3 more years. Take it then. Take it then. It's okay. It's more, what I would say is try to get a hands-on or try to get your hands dirty on a project. And I will actually tell you how to do this. In your organization, there might be a lot of cyber security implementation project implementations going on. Try to get involved in one of those. There must be a firewall implementation in progress. There must be an encryption solution that must be getting purchased. There must be a WAF that is either purchased or going to be in place. And organizations keep purchasing new solutions, implementing new solutions, trying to increase the security posture of the company. So try to get yourself involved. You seem to be a person who learns a lot through experience, because like you said, in these 2 years you were able to do a lot of work, and kind of you feel that you have justified, more than justified, these 2 years of experience, and now you're more knowledgeable than you would have been as opposed to anybody who's working in a normal fashion. So I feel that if you get yourself involved, you will be quickly be able to learn it. You will get that knowledge, and that is how make the transition. And once you are there, and if you feel that this is a certification that is going to make you cross or give you a head start, then it's just a matter of couple of months. Just put in those efforts and then just crack the certification.
Right.
It makes more sense, man, to get experience. And if okay, if your aim for the certification was to gain a knowledge, a technical understanding, then I would say study the material. Don't get go for the certificate. I'll tell you why. Because maybe by the time you are actually qualified to take this certification, the certification structure changes, or there is something at par which comes over there, and you realize, okay, I spend my money on this, not that. So if you're only talking about knowledge, then just study the material. There are a lot of other trainings and certifications that will give you the knowledge that you need. Go for them. Get the knowledge you need. But certification, because then you're spending money on the certification and it's not giving you the full taste. It's like saying that almost CISSP, I've cleared the exam, and even you would not feel that great within yourself. Obviously it's a good feeling cracking the interview, and there's nothing like it. I mean, if you crack something before you're even qualified to get that certification, that's a different thrill altogether. But you have to make a cost benefit analysis over here, because your time is limited, and you have to make sure you utilize your money and your time efficiently. So the suggestion I would make to you is try to get the technical knowledge on a voluntary basis. Get involved in projects, and I'm sure nobody will stop you in a company. Nobody will stop you if you're doing your extra work. If you're already done your work and you're contributing to other projects, nobody really stops, because the culture has now shifted. It's not more about you do whatever you're supposed to do. It's more about, if you're doing something, internal shifts in teams, internal role changes keeps happening way more frequently than we can imagine.
Right.
Does that help you?
Yeah. So that makes my plan clear. So what I'll do is I'll study probably CISSP, the whole book and multiple trainings and all. And later on, when I'm qualified, I'll give the exam.
See, I'll help you out in understanding the terminology. So you have to know, since you're talking about technical, understand how a firewall, how a project implementation in cybersecurity works. Try to get your hold on that. Understand a firewall as a technology, understand proxy as a technology, understand deception technology, understand IDS, IPS, and you have an organization, so you have people to talk to. You will have conceptual internet. You can ask questions in the groups. In your team, there must be a server admin, a network admin, must be your friend, or make a friend out of him. And then just understand the whole thing first, so it gets settled. Because from a process perspective, you used to understand there should be a firewall in place. A firewall should not allow communication from outside to inside. Now you're able to see, oh, okay, so this was happening in the background, and you are able to connect all the dots, and suddenly you feel way more knowledgeable than you were.
Yeah. Right, Akshay. Thanks, Akshay. One more question. regarding it. I wanted to know what is the industrial trend in terms of salary for a fresher and for a 2 years experience in ISO 27001.
I can't. We can't.
Just
Let's not talk about figures, man. Here,
okay,
that's something we can take up
okay,
elsewhere.
fine, fine,
Yeah,
fine, no problem. Yeah.
but it's good. No, it's a current
Yeah,
kind.
I
It's
can give an answer to that question also, but let's not generalize something because
Yeah. My point is not to put a figure on it. It's more that
yeah,
it's a lucrative job and salaries are good in cybersecurity.
yes, absolutely. I would say that, and it grows exponentially with experience. I would like to add that.
Okay, I have. Is there anybody asking? Because there's a question in the chat group, and I think it's a very good question.
Go for
And
it.
I think love you would love to answer this. It says that I face a situation during interview. Sometimes I become blank. I'm not able to answer properly, knowing the answer but not able to speak at the time. Can you please suggest how to overcome these situations during interview?
Okay, so know the answer but not able to speak is something related with the confidence of that person. Okay, so what I would suggest, what I did in order to improvise on myself, I can say that. Okay, there might be other techniques also. So I used to open up this camera in the same way that we are talking right now. I used to see my expressions. I used to, when I used to go to interviews, the first question would be, "Tell me about yourself," right? That is the first question that anybody would ask you in the interview. Tell me about yourself. So I was having the same, fear. I was not able to introduce myself in a fashion where I can show that other person that I bring value to your company, right? So I used to do a lot of work on myself. I used to see my expressions. I used to look in the camera, video feed myself. I not only, I think I would have spent more than 100 hours, just correcting myself, making sure that I am I am making myself clear, in terms of highlighting any information that it's practicing. I would say, Akshay, more or less. You have to go in front of a mirror. You have to go in front of a camera. You have to practice. There is no other way. Otherwise, if you will not work on it, then you won't be able to answer it at that point of time. I'll be honest.
Right. There are a couple of things I would like to add here, and it's just basis on my experience as an interviewer and as a person who has applied for jobs as well. One thing what happens sometimes is that when we go for a face-to-face interview, it's not my turf, it's not my place, it's not my location. So I go there, I sit in an interview, I look at the interviewer, he looks like he puts on a poker face, he's asking a lot of questions here and there, he's interrupting me while I'm answering my question, he's moving on. Some questions I understand, some I can't make sense of, and that is what throws me off my game. So in my mind, I have a flow. In my mind, I'm thinking I'll be asked this, and this in whatever order I'll answer this. But when what I expected does not happen, sometimes I just kind of I lose my rhythm, and that is where I either I may stammer, I may become blank, I may start talking something I don't mean, I may forget what I want to say, and these are the things that usually people face, and more or less on the lines of what I think Pankaj was asking. So what couple of things that I can recommend for something like this, and something which I was also told by some of my seniors, is that try not to arrive at a location or an interview at the last minute, because when you're there, when you're sitting for a bit, then you get accustomed to the whole scenario, understand that you have to absorb the whole thing. You're going to sit here for a while, for at least an hour you're going to sit here, because it's an interview you're going to face, first of all. Second, do not try to gauge the expression of the interviewer. Do not try to understand whether my answer was correct through his expressions. Don't worry about it. Just think about answering, understanding the question, and answering that to the best of your capabilities. Do not try to find us whether they are actually being impressed by you or not. Do not try to find anything in their eyes or their expressions. That does not work. If in the course of an interview you find yourself going off course, you find yourself getting jumpy, you find yourself getting excited, ask for a 30-second break. Take some water, take a deep breath. Can I just take a minute, please? It's okay. It's not impolite. It's not unprofessional. It's understandable. So when you're feeling that you're getting blank, when you're feeling, just try to reassess what the question was. Try to free your mind from what you think, because these external factors usually judge. So we've already prepared for it. You probably already deserve the job role. You already know the answer. The only thing that stops you is the external factors. What is happening at that time currently? Maybe you are getting intimidated, maybe you're getting flustered, maybe you think that the interviewer is being unreasonable. Whatever it is, just cool your mind, think of the question again. If you think that you have gone off course, say that, can I start over? I want to address this question in a better manner. It's okay, it's fine. The interviewer understands. I, as an interviewer, appreciate when a guy, if he's going off course or I always say that, have a glass of water, relax, it's okay, it's a conversation. So just kind of take this in a way that it's a conversation. It's not, you're not being interrogated, you're not a criminal. So I think it's more from that perspective. I hope Pankaj, that answered you.
Adding to that, one thing would be, Akshay, to give more and more interviews. Like, because this is the frame of mind which we are not as individuals accustomed to on a day-to-day basis, right? So
Right.
having more and more interviews, let's say I am giving 3 interviews in a week. After that week, when I will give the fourth one, it will obviously make a difference to me psychologically as well, and my confidence level will keep up, to that level. However, if I am giving only one interview in 2 months, then obviously when I'll go to the next one after 2 months, I'll be cracking my nerves.
Yeah, and Love, this is Abhinav. I would like to add one thing. Again, I am saying that whatever you are writing in the resume, make sure that you know that whatever you are writing, because no one will ask you the question what you have. You have written in the resume. So hiring manager knows that you don't know this thing. But if you are writing something which you don't know, many times we go blank when we don't know that thing, and a hiring manager asks the question. So if you are writing whatever you know, whatever you experience, just write that only. You know that whatever questions will come in front of you, you can answer easily. So that time I don't think you will go blank anytime.
Completely agree, Abhinav. Yeah.
Hello, I want to add 2
Sure.
points here
Go
actually
for it.
that helped me while preparing for interview. So
Sure.
first is you have to note down the common question, like tell me about yourself,
Yes.
what are the experience, what are the your strengths, weaknesses, etc.,
Right.
and prepare answer out of it, so you will be more confident while tackling those questions.
Yes.
And second is never go to an interview thinking that you want this job very bad, this is your last chance and all that.
Yes.
If you go casually, just mila to bhi theek, nahi mila to bhi theek,
Yeah.
so you'll be more confident when
Yes.
you tackle an interview thinking like that. This is my opinion.
Yeah, Mohammed, I would like to add one thing there. I remember the time when I started doing this. So what I used to do was I used to write everything like a script level. Okay, I used to write everything in a Word document. I used to then read and answer, because it took a lot of practice, as I said. Then I used to record myself. Then I used to watch my expressions, whether I am looking confident enough or not, because you have to do all this work in order to crack down to this level. Otherwise, if somebody will ask, Love, tell me 2 weaknesses that you have, it will take time for me to answer that question if I have not prepared myself. So preparedness is very much important in this case also, as it is important in all the other cases.
Okay, so there are 2 questions from RK. He asks that, what is your suggestion for the people who want to move from IT project management role around 15 plus years to IT security? That is the first question. Love.
So for RK, I would say in the IT project management role that you have been, have you come across any security domain projects in the past? If yes, you can quickly show your relevance and value add to any of the security roles that you want to go for. If not, then you have to go for a training or go for something in order to build up that skill.
Yeah, yes, I would completely agree with this. RKC, it's about that you already have project management experience.
Yes.
So you have to first showcase that I am good with managing projects. At a certain scale, I can manage a team. I can get the process done. I can get the job done. I can communicate to senior management. I can prepare dashboards. I can lay down the processes. I can define KPIs. I can define SLAs. I can so this from a project management perspective, from an IT, because ultimately cyber security is part of IT. So what you're saying is that I understand technology. I'm good with managing technical projects. In order for me to come into IT security management, I need to gain certain skills of information security. So it all depends on how much you know. If it's from a very basic level, you know that it happens in a lot of cases that you're saying that I have understanding of information technology and projects, but cyber security is something I just have heard about and I know a little bit here and there, but it's not something I know a lot in deep. So then you have to plan out what are the kind of what is the job role in the IT security. Are you taking a step down? Are you going into a step down role, or are you taking something parallelly over there? Are you going into implementation projects? Are you going into ISMS? Either ways, you need to brush up your complete IT security knowledge that you have before, and you need to learn new concepts and knowledge there. So at your level, a good, nicely planned approach is better. Rather than going from blog to blog, I would say going for a professional training is a better option for somebody.
Yes. Yes. And
Because your time is essential. You already have 15 plus years of experience, or whoever you're asking about has already 15 years of experience. Your time is crucial, and you have some funny financial expectations. You have certain expectations from the job. So now you need the clear and crisp path to lead. So you need to first define each and every point that you need, and then just keep on cracking it one by one. So if you can get that whole you can fill that knowledge gap, and you can somehow marry it to the project experience that you already have, I think then you're golden.
yeah. And one thing specifically I would like to address at this point of time would be people who do not have jobs. Okay. This is for you. If you are not having any job at the moment, don't stuck yourself at a target role. Okay. Let's say that, you are a manager. Don't stuck yourself at a manager position only. See yourself as a senior manager also, see yourself as a assistant manager also, because times are tough at the moment, and the times will continue to be tough in the future as well, that we are observing these days. So 6 months down the line, things will not be improving so quickly. Okay. So I think we have to shift our frames of mind, and instead of parallelly mapping ourselves to a similar role where we want to see ourselves, it's equally important that we see up and down the ladder also, because that will bring a lot of different opportunities as well as job opportunities. Because first of all, I think the prime focus of anybody who would not be having a job would be to get a job, right? So considering it from that point of view, get a job. That is the first thing that you should do. Okay. Don't worry about which part of the ladder you are falling into. First of all, get a job, and post that, if you still think that you are not able to justify your role, you have all the time to figure it out later, but your first priority should not be to stuck yourself. Okay.
there's a second part to his question is that he is already ISO 27001 certified. Is it as advisable to take CSAM certification? Please suggest. I would say do not go for CSAM. I would say either plan for CISA as a certification, or I would say just kind of, it all depends, man. It all depends on what kind of a role you're looking for. But CISA is better than CSAM. But plan for CISA. Huh? CISA is not, and you don't want to take CISA and then not be able to crack it. So keep especially if you're new into information security or have not been into it for a while, I would say going for a pre-CISA knowledge gathering before you take CISA as an examination, because that is a certification that you can take aram se, that you can take with ease. That is something you can go for when the time is right, when you have the money, when you have the time. But you still need the knowledge now, immediately. So make sure you have a little, not just little bit, you have complete pre-CISA information, you have all the knowledge you need. Consume that knowledge entirely and then go for a certification, because then it's a smooth sail.
Yeah, I would say at this point of time, Akshay, you said it rightly just 10-15 minutes ago while answering Mohammed's question. We should not focus ourselves to get a certification, right? We should focus ourselves more on knowledge, because knowledge is more important. Let's say I go for a job interview. I'll give you a practical example. Okay, I go for a job interview and that person asks me, okay, he's asked me a project question, a real job-based question.
Right.
Even if I have cleared the CISSP, if I do not have that relativity to that question, I would not be able to answer that. I'll be honest with you. And and on the contrary, if I have on-job experience of those things, I'll easily be able to crack it without getting that badge of CISSP on me.
Yeah, I just feel that if at a certain level, at a very senior level, he may want to go for a certification,
Yeah,
but it's very important that you first have the knowledge. It's
absolutely. Yeah.
knowledge without certification is still okay.
Yes.
Let's you not have a certification. Anybody who's asking you, you don't have a certification, challenge him on the spot. But in order for you to challenge somebody, you need to have that experience. I will tell you, love, there are countless cases where people come to me and say ki, I interviewed this guy, he was a CISSP, he was a CISA, but he was not able to answer even basic questions.
Absolutely.
Now what impact or what image of that person stuck with this interviewer or employer? That so they start asking, oh, you don't even know this much. Your CISSP, you still don't know this much. Oh, your CISA, you still don't know this much. That actually, in fact, gives you a negative impact.
Yes.
So having that knowledge base and experience. See, even if you don't have that industry experience, you should be able to know the scenarios. You should be able to crack concepts. At your level, you can make 2 and 2 is 4. At an initial level, making 2 and 2 4 is something that has to be taught. At your level, I just need to tell you this is 2 and this is 2. You will yourself be able to make 4.
Yes. Absolutely, I would agree with that, Akshay. And yes, knowledge is very important. Don't go for the certification at this time. Go for knowledge.
Yeah, I think yes, he agrees with us. Okay, any other questions? I think nobody is asking anything on the chat right now. So if anybody has any other questions.
Any questions in terms of resume? You're not getting calls. Anything? Go for it. Any obstacles you are facing in your job hunting? Any obstacles you are facing in your job hunting interviews? Go for it.
And please don't feel shy about it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a question that you will get answered for yourself, and a lot of people might benefit from it.
I just on the other conversation that we had just now, Akshay, I had a lot of people who came to me in the last 3-4 years. They were lead implementation certified, lead implementers of ISO 27001, and they were lead auditors also of ISO 27001, certified with a very reputed MNCs and all these big brand names that I would call. I don't want to name anyone over here because this is
Sure.
public, but But just I want to, relay back that same thing that we were discussing about. They themselves have said, even some of them have written on YouTube comments. You can go and see yourself that we don't have knowledge. We are just certified. So, what is the kind of experience that you are bringing on the table is something that matters. Don't,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, see, the whole approach to certification has now changed. It has kind of become a document. So what people are thinking is that how do I get this piece of document? How do I put this in my resume? How can I do it? I learn the slides, I learn the questions, I learn the pattern, I'll take the exam, I'll crack the exam, and
I
then
would,
I'll get certified.
Akshay, I would
And
say,
and that helps them get the job. But what
yeah,
happens then? My
I,
mind diverts
yeah,
because it's
you,
a hurdle. I
yeah,
crossed the hurdle. I got the certification, I crossed the hurdle. But in my job, when I'm doing it, my employer says, oh, you're lead auditor, go ahead and audit it. And these people then come back to our groups, to your videos, and then they try to seek to understand, I am stuck in this situation and I have no idea what to do.
yes, absolutely. That is what is happening since last 2 3 years. So that's why I am observing these trends, and that's why my focus has now changed from certification to getting more on-job experience. And you rightly said, getting that knowledge, getting that understanding of things.
Yes, and I'll tell you the challenge. I mean, I'll give a perspective of the person also, why they face so much challenge. Because when you start googling, there is a lot of concepts here and there. Everybody has their own take on ISMS. Everybody has their own take on process and risk management. Love, there is no single way of doing risk management, right? There are, you and me, if we sit here together, we can come up with at least 20 30 methods of doing the same as a risk assessment of the same system
Yes,
in 20 30 different ways. So you
yes,
know what I'm talking about. So and then we start to get confused because it's not a straight process. It's not like this is I'll do this and this is what I'll get. So having that understanding, having that concept sink into you, it becomes difficult. You need a good mentor, you need somebody to guide you, you need that is why I appreciate the community you've built. That is why I appreciate the videos you put, because then people get a guidance, people get a sense of understanding, and through your videos people have been able to uh, make the base of that knowledge and then build over it. So I think
yes.
starting when you approach something, I think going for a you need to make sure that you don't get confused or overwhelmed, because there's a lot of data out there and everybody is claiming to be an expert. To be honest, right? And they probably are. I'm not denying that, but what is it that's best for you is what matters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think this is the whole point why I started all these series, Akshay. I think, when we discussed earlier, I told you also. So I realized that there is a gap, in the market in terms of, getting certification and getting knowledge. There is a huge gap in the market. So this is what that I realized 3 4 years down the, back, and then I realized that, somebody should do this. So it's, it's my principle that, when I ask somebody to do, it's better, why shouldn't I do it? So that's where I started. Okay, I said that, you should start, maybe somebody down the line would also see that you are building value and they would also support you, and that's why you all are here. I'll be honest. Yeah.
So there's a question here. Again, RK, I think, has asked a question: where to start to gain knowledge in security? He's new in IT security. He already has 15 plus years, but he is interested to move, and he has a 6 month time period.
So I would say I have more than 150 videos on YouTube at the moment. So maybe you can start from there. Start from the Q and A's also, because in the last 4 5 weeks we have done a lot of Q and A's. So those Q and A's will actually help you understand the real questions people are facing in their jobs, the real, struggle and the real pain areas. Apart from that, there are some very foundational videos that I created from the, if you'll go back to the 2017 stuff that I created back date. So there, I took a lot of basics. So go with that, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's a very good start, RK. What I will say is that you first look at the videos, you first understand what you expect, you build up what you expect in the role, how to start with information security, what are the knowledge and what are the, so you may say that I'm more interested in ISMS in process because it makes sense for you as a project manager. You may say that it may not make more sense for you to know how to fine tune a firewall or make a firewall rule, right? So, and get on a conversation with me and Love, and what we can do is we can suggest you some customized training programs. I may have something really
Yeah,
customized and
yeah,
good for you.
yeah.
May not be the right time to discuss about it, but
Yes.
if you can connect with us offline, and if you do end up getting something, then we can make a case study out of you, and we can discuss it, so that other people with similar situation and similar place, or in a similar boat as you, will benefit out of it. Does that make sense to you? You can reach out to us. You already, if you're already part of the group, I think I may have something very specific for you. Yes,
Okay. I
I
have
think you got it.
I had
Hello,
Mohammed.
love and access.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
who is this?
Shivkant, I
Hi,
think.
this is Shivkant,
Hi,
love and
Shivkant.
access. Hi.
Hi, man.
So my question is, now in the lockdown situations, the lots of the video self-based training is available on Udemy, Coursera, or Cyber for related to IT security or in cyber security. So is it good to complete and mention it on resume that I have completed and on for particular courses like ITIL or CES or CISA? No.
No,
I
no.
think I think it makes sense, Shivkant, to put it on your LinkedIn, because
Okay.
you give links to everything on LinkedIn. That makes sense. But from a resume perspective, see, these courses are more for your increase in knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not a certification. There's a difference between a course that you take, that may be a single course module, or let's say, like you said, Udemy and Cybrary are offering good courses. Now you may go for a 5 hour, 6 hour course that talks about risk management, or risk
Okay.
management in financial sector. Now that's a course you took and a certificate you got. But then that's just a course, right? That does not say anything from a professional standpoint. That just something that now you know this. And if somebody says that, do you know if you are talking about risk management in financial background, and somebody says, what gives you an authority, you can say, I have already taken a course. But if you're talking from a seat, I have seen people put it, but as an employer, that's not something that intrigues me. That just says that you're a good learner. And any which ways in an interview, I'm going to ask you that what are the knowledge sources, how do you stay updated. So yes, go ahead and mention it as a single pointer that yes, active member of Udemy, Cybrary, keeps updating my skills through courses. But unless it's a very heavy course or certificate, I would say that try to keep it off it. Put it on your LinkedIn, because you any which ways are going to give your LinkedIn profile, link to your LinkedIn profile in the resume. So then the person
Akshay,
has, yes, please.
yeah, it would be a better idea if that courses, suppose you do a course on risk management and not mention in your resume and just mention under the skill that you know some part of risk management, or is
The
it
question, the
advisable?
question, the question was specifically about. Are you asking a question or are you
I,
suggesting
I am
something?
I am asking a question. Is it advisable if you put it under a skill tab that you know some part of it, not mentioning like
Okay,
you have done a
let
course
me
or
first answer Shivkant's question, and then I'll come to you, if you don't
okay.
mind. Yeah. Okay. So Shivkant, I think that answers you.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning because you have put in your efforts, but I think it makes
Mm.
more sense to, because then you can put that link on LinkedIn, and I think LinkedIn also puts a thumbnail, and it gives a description, a basic gist of description also.
Okay.
I
So
would like to add. I would like to add one thing here. Although not completely related to what Shivkant just mentioned, the general perception of going for a course. I have seen this. Many people have come up to me Why? Because I provide free content. You all know that. So many people have come up to me. They said, which is the best, training, institute, or where should we go to get the courses? But what I have seen down the line is, people search on Google. They put a certification, then they put training in front of that certification, then they put cost in front of that search query, and they search for courses which are cheap. Don't do that. Okay. Why? I'll tell you why. Okay. I'm not saying you should not go for cheap certifications or not certifications, trainings. Why? Because first of all, I think as an individual, you should go and scroll what all content has been provided by that particular institute, be it anyone. Okay, I'm not naming any specific websites or any training providers here, but first of all, try to see the value that you are getting out of those courses. If I'll give a quick example, if I'm spending 200 rupees and I'm getting 40 hours of free learning, it's a good investment from my psychological point of view. Okay, that in 200 rupees I am getting 40 hours of learning, but is that learning really giving me a value, is the second question that we should ask, which most of the people are not asking these
I
days.
think that's the first question you should ask.
Which they are not asking. I'll be honest with you, because that's why after spending those 20 hours or 40 hours, they come to me and they say, "Love, how do we do risk management now? Tell us." So that is where the gap is building up. Okay, so don't do that. Don't go for cheap courses. Don't go for any courses just blindly online. People are spending hours and hours on free stuff. Don't do that unless that free stuff is giving you value. Okay.
Yes. Just because it's free does not mean it is beneficial for you.
Yeah, and in fact, what you are doing is, I would say, you are getting delusional. You are blinding yourself. You are, just thinking that you are doing trainings, but at the end of the day, you are, you all are here. You are, my friends. You are not gaining anything out of it. I'll be honest.
Cool. Well point. I think Mohammed had a follow-up question on this. He was asking if you're talking about risk management as a as a practice, or you've done a course, is it advisable to put it under the skill? Now
Why
that's
not?
that's debatable. I mean,
Can see, Akshay, if
yeah.
if he has that knowledge, if through all his Mohammed is a guy who has done a lot of projects also, right? He mentioned. So if during his projects and experience, he knows about risk management and he has also done some trainings, why not putting it under skills? He should do that. But
Right.
but can everybody do that? No, I
That's
would not
what
say that.
if you've done a course on Cybrary or Udemy on risk management, can you put risk management as a skill set in the resume? I don't think so. I think you still need to be, or if you're putting it, you should be able to
You
justify
should be
it
able to
somehow.
justify it. Yeah. Otherwise, you will get 10 questions on risk management and they will floor you if you don't have that ground level.
So yeah, so when you're asked, if you're mentioning, see, it's a simple thing. I think somebody already said in the in this session itself that you should be able to justify everything you're putting in your resume. So
Yes.
if you've put it and you're asked, be honest about it. Say
Right.
that I don't have a practical experience, but knowledge I have. I have completed these courses, and I am ready for you to ask me anything about it. Then that shows confidence. So I think that makes sense.
Go for it. Any other questions?
How to make a resume ATS compatible?
First of all, what is ATS? My friend, you said it very rightly. What is ATS? You know that?
Yeah. So it's basically a system put in place for a huge company which get a lot of resume to filter out the resumes of eligible candidates.
Okay.
Am I right?
I no, not completely. So
Okay.
I am not sure if I'll say it here, and if I'll upload on YouTube, they might block this video, because I used to throw a lot of videos on ATS. Okay, way back, and they killed my channel. So I'm not sure whether we should do that, do this at this time. But I'll tell you what is ATS. Okay, so ATS is applicant tracking system. Okay, this is this is how all the big job search portals out there, they work out. Okay, applicant tracking system is basically it's how your applications get tracked. Okay, what are the different search queries that people put in, how people search you on the different job portals. So ATS is the foundation of each and every job query that runs on all the big portals that are out there. And your resume has to be ATS compatible. That is the first thing, which 90% of the population never knows. Okay, I'll be honest there. Nobody knows what is ATS. Nobody knows what is ATS compatibility. Nobody knows why they are not getting calls. Nobody knows that their CV might not be getting up on the search query because of ATS. So it took a lot of time for me to struggle out. There is a website called JobScan. I'll give you right away. Go to JobScan. JobScan will give you free ATS compatible resumes, so that you can structure your resume as per the ATS compatibility. Okay, ATS has a lot of things to keep in mind. I'll briefly touch upon ATS. If you have any graphical inputs in your resume, okay, any pictures or something, it will scratch it. Okay, if you have any tables in your resume, it will scratch it. And what it does is it simply filters out all the relevant information from your resume. And if by any chance your resume is not ATS compatible, it will not be able to do that. Okay, so you are providing a hindrance to yourself by creating your resume in a non ATS compatible fashion. So very important, go to JobScan. There you will find a lot of free ATS compatible CVs, and you can download, and as per your role, they have different CVs. Okay, so you can search which one will suit you better, and maybe change your CV to that. That is first thing. Okay, Mohammed, do you get that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so JobScan is the website. You can go there and you can see the free ATS resume templates. They have it there. Okay, now second thing is keywords. Second thing is keywords. A lot of people, what they do is they keep on searching for keywords which are related to their profiles. So this is a very tricky part. I would like everyone to be cautious about this. If you will not play it wisely with this, the ATS will block your CV also. So this is how it plays out. So very important keywords, when you will search more about ATS, you will also come to know about keywords also. So just Google it out, but just be mindful of using a lot of keywords in your resume, because that might kill that CV also.
So there's a question on this, and I would just like to state it. Sorry, I dropped out in the middle. Somebody is asking, Shoaib is asking, I think, I don't know whether it was addressed here, that he received a mail regarding resume making, and they are asking him for fee. And what do they actually do? Is it a good idea to have your resume built by somebody else or not?
No, go to jobscan.com. I am telling you, JOBSCAN. They provide you free ATS compatible resumes. Download the one which is suitable to your profile. They have different profile categories, so you can download whichever works for you, free of cost. No need to pay anyone, and you can change your CV accordingly to that layout and go for it. That's it. Don't pay anyone. And second thing would be, this resume that you are using for uploading on the job portals, there is a complete chance that you might not like to get that same CV out when you are actually going for the job interview. You can have a different one there also. Okay, but in order to come up to that level where you start getting calls, your CV has to be ATS compatible. There is no other way. Okay, no need to give any money. Okay, save your money. This is a time of saving. Okay, any other questions? Okay, So no questions, huh? If you have any follow-up questions later on ATS or resume, you can shout us anytime, Akshay or myself. We are here to help you out. Okay. So thank you very much for joining the session. I think it was really helpful for a lot of people. And thank you, Akshay, for patiently answering all the questions. You took the lead today. Really happy. And thank you, Abhinav, for adding in your inputs. Really valuable.
Thanks, love. Thanks, Akshay.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, love.
Thank you.
Thanks, Akshay.
Thank you, love. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, love.
Thank you.